Excellent. Well, welcome to Values plus AI equals Impact. My name is Rhonda Bowen, and today is April 9th, 2025. It's 10 a.m. CEST time. And all of us in the room too are here today, know each other, but it's nice for all the people who are going to be watching the recording. We're happy that you're doing that as well. Just to give us a quick introduction to who you are and what kinds of things are on your mind today. As far as AI is concerned, there are so many things happening and it's happening so fast. It's very hard to keep up sometimes with all the new things that are going on, but we're here to share and to explore new things and to see how we can make sure that what we do that are engraved in our values and what we believe in and what we're bringing to the world, how AI can help us do that and make a bigger impact. So Minal, would you like to briefly say who you are and what you're interested in AI at the moment and how it's helping you with your values and impact?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Meenal Kering and I'm based out of Pune, India. And I'm a counselor therapist and I work in the space of mental health and well-being. So the one thing about AI is no matter what aspect about AI, there's always something that terrifies me. I don't know why. There's just always a fine line of that, safety aspect in all. So the last time we spoke about, the use of AI ethically, right? And that's where values comes into play. But it's only if you really stick to your values, especially when you're trying to do something. For a student, it could be, finishing a project and you don't have the time. So we did explore that. There's something on my mind since a week actually. So I've been talking to students who are now stepping out of school and going into college, figuring out what they want to do for their undergrad courses. And the entire aspect of even when you search for something on the internet now, and if you actually type out something in Google, I don't know if everyone's noticed, but you'll also have like a chat GPT or a Gemini link that comes first, right? So my question is, earlier when we started doing research or we started using Google to get more information, we would type out something in the very simple basic Google search engine and it would give you say 20 options. And it was for us to take all of that information and make it our own in terms of our perception, our understanding, right? But when you go to a chat GPT and you type out the same thing, you don't get any option. You get a definite answer. Mm-hmm. So this is what it is. So what are the different courses that you can do for undergrad in psychology, right? There's no scope or space for exploring or trying to understand it from your point of view. So we all will have the same thought, and that will be like the truth for this, that this is what it is, which is different from Google's search engine, where they will tell you these are the 20,000 things and you figure it out and you take what works for you. So how do students and young adults figure that balance? Because no one's going to Google search anymore. They're all going to chat GPT, say for example.
Excellent idea. We'll talk about that in a moment. I want Charles to have a chance to say what's on his mind today as well, and I'll mention some things that I've been seeing recently, and then we'll actually look into this, Minal, and see about other options we could maybe choose.
Okay, thanks, Rhonda, and thanks, Minal. That's very interesting. My name is Charles Fowler. I'm the Global Coordinator for World Values Day and various other, involved in various other activities, all to do with values. All to do with values. My interest in this session today, well, first of all, I've been at every session that Rhonda's done because it came out of World Values Day sessions that she ran the last World Values Day for on the same topic. But in particular, my interest is, as Rhonda knows already, and maybe we won't explore this because we've done it already, is AI for translating text and making life easy for us in World Values Day and other activities. But the other thing that I've been looking at a bit but haven't spent much time on recently is AI making images. I do use various tools to come up with images because it's so much easier when you're advertising something, promoting something, to rather than try to find a free photograph, to illustrate your point. Now you can just type in some instructions and it comes up with something rather random, but something probably along the lines of what you want. But that's now becoming more sophisticated. I noticed that ChatGPT has a new subtool that pops up when you get into ChatGPT, where you can play in a more sophisticated basis with images, and it gives you a better result. Now, I've only just used it once, I think, and haven't quite got the hang of it. So I'm sort of interested in that, in images, videos, and everything else. Where videos now, AI-generated videos are dominating the social media airwaves, as I believe I've already seen them to some extent in my limited exposure to social media. So that's my interest today, Rhonda.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. I'm Rhonda Bowen, and one of the people who is old enough to remember the world without computers, but loving every moment of what's happening with AI, because I was privileged to attend the United Nations AI for Good Summit last year in Geneva, and saw over 80 exhibitors and what they're doing to really use AI for good things in the world, and was absolutely thrilled and looking forward to going back again this year in July. And have now just taken the dive into trying to learn about this is possible, and setting up this space for us to all have a place for those of us who are not experts, who are not the ones who understand all of the tech. That's not the important thing as far as I'm concerned. There are many of us who will never learn all the tech for AI, as we've not learned the tech for many other things. I know how to drive a car, but I don't know how to repair it. So it has very similar things to many other things that we use in our lives. But the important place is a place to actually, for us, have the safe place to talk about things and to actually ask the questions that we need to ask and see what answers we can discover together. And then in the group that we have in our online platform, Compolium, to be able to continue the conversation afterwards as well. And so I'm just here to help try to sort all this out and see what we can do to find out what's going on. Let's start with Minal. First of all, the idea about putting something into ChatGPT as one of the large language models, and then it saying, this is the answer, quote unquote. I was on a call last night, fairly late for me, where a gentleman was explaining how he doesn't work with very many people anymore. He has AI agents that he works with. And when it's time for a meeting, he has a meeting with his agents. They are all assigned to be doing certain things. And he was explaining, for example, yesterday evening, how they were looking at an email campaign and putting in all of the metrics, all of the open rates, all of the things that they had received based on the emails that they had sent, and trying to find ways to improve on this email series. And the interesting thing he was doing with that was that he said, it's not important for me to tell anything to the agents, as we're often talking about, as you said, Minal, put in something and see what comes out. He is now coaching his agents. So he's saying, these are the emails we've written. These are the results of the campaign. These are the metrics we have, the data that we have that backs up what has happened so far. And now find out how we can improve on this. He's not telling them anything. He's coaching them.
Mm-hmm.
So what he's doing is saying, it's not up to me to be able to figure out what it is that I tell the AI to be doing. It's up to me to be supporting the AI, giving it the input that I need, so that it is then, because it is more able, because it has access to all of the wonderful things, as you were mentioning, Minal, it then gives the things that I actually want in return, but not by telling it, but by asking it. And he's got his agents to the point where they also ask things back. And then he continues, and it's a coaching process. So instead of him spending hours or days on, researching and evaluating this campaign, for example, he said he did this recently with 6 agents and it took him 35 minutes to do the entire process. So I think a switch, there are many switches I think we need to make in our own human brains as we're approaching this. But the reason I bring that up, Minal, with what you're saying, and also Charles, with what you're saying about images, is the fact that the way we approach this is very different. I'm sure you all remember when we started having emails and we started having things like search engines on Google or wherever else you search, that we really didn't even know what we should write. And the learning curve for me is not only for AI, it's also for us. And Minal, what I've noticed is, first of all, I think we've looked at that, but maybe not in the session you attended. Are you familiar with Perplexity.ai? Have you looked at that? Can you unmute? Yeah, there we go. Good. You've used Perplexity for this instead of ChatGPT?
Yeah, I've gone through it once, but I haven't really used it in depth in any of my work also.
Okay. Because the interesting thing about Perplexity is, from the beginning, Perplexity cannot hallucinate and do all the crazy things that a lot of the other models did, especially in the beginning, because it has always been set to give sources. So it is doing what you're asking for in addition to giving the answer, quote unquote. So it has always given the sources. And when you read the answer as it looks, you also see little numbers at the end of everything. And those are references to the sources.
Yeah, I get it.
So it's a combination, basically, of what you were saying, meaning people get the chance to see where is this information coming from. But of course, AI is set up, if you think of it as an assistant or an agent or whatever nice word everybody's using for these things at the moment, it's set up to be doing the heavy lifting for us.
Yeah.
So it should be finding all these things and giving us the answer, quote unquote. But of course, it's to save us all that time of having to read through all of those sources and those resources. But of course, Perplexity giving you the list of all the sources gives you that additional opportunity, or the nice young people you're talking to actually go in and see where this is coming from.
Yeah.
And maybe if you're saying people should have more context, or they should be able to discover more things, that a move away from ChatGPT and into something like Perplexity would give them more of those opportunities, but they would be working together.
Yeah, I get it.
And maybe that would be something important to look at. Charles, with the images and the videos, I'm not an image person so much, but my husband is, and there are so many good things now coming out with images and videos, and also the improvements on, for example, things that used to be, if you had an image and you ask it to put words in and it was misspelling the words, and all those kinds of things, those things seem to be improving very quickly.
Yeah.
And the other thing, of course, is taking something like a video and it analyzing the long form video and making it into smaller videos. I will make sure in the notes that I put in all the direct references to those things. But is there something in particular with images and videos that you're looking for, so I can make sure I put that in the notes?
One thing is, we've already discussed, and I've got it in my notes somewhere, the app that helps you select 1 minute or whatever clips from a longer video.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that does sound really helpful, and I just want to make sure that our comms team is using that, because we're beginning to do that a lot more, both with video clips and audio clips from longer video recordings and audio recordings. So no, so that's the main thing on videos. I haven't really got any ambition to make up videos purely through AI, although I guess I'd be interested in having a look at how that might work. So if you know the best website, I know there's been a lot of talk about it recently,
Yeah.
but I don't know quite whether the names that are mentioned are the best names or not. So that's really on videos. Can I move away from the images and videos, because
Yeah, sure.
as I say, I think they've been talked about quite a lot. Just going back to this issue of making World Values Day multi-link more user-friendly for users in other languages, which we were talking about recently. That whole discussion, I guess one could actually ask AI in much the way that your friend asked his AI agents. One could ask some AI tools how they would approach it, really.
Yes.
And with all the issues and problems involved, which are that, you know, there's limitations on the human resource element. So setting up multiple social media accounts may be the right answer, but if that is the right answer, then that's fine. We know what we have to do. Find a lot of people to man those social media accounts, or maybe there are AI tools which make that more helpful. And I think you know, one was mentioned the other day. And on the website, you know, is an easy way. I can see how AI can help us translate the material on the website, but it's a question of, is there a really neat way of displaying the website in a lot of languages that doesn't involve, as it were, sort of entirely reconstructing the website in each individual language, which is a big task. So, you know, you basically have to get some developer to replicate every page in a different language for each language, which is you know, there's obviously they can use the current website as an example. So it's not a question of inventing anything, but it's still quite a big slog to do that.
From
So,
what I understand, but what I will check on and I will put in the notes then when I put it on Compolium, is, as far as I understand, the DeepL browser extension. So this is the thing that is actually inside the browser, that when things open up, Google has one of those as well that everybody uses, but as I said, is not always terribly accurate as far as I'm concerned. When that is part of the browser and you open the page and you have that installed in your browser as an extension, you can then open that extension and say, I don't want to read this in English, I want to read it in Hindi, for example, since Manal is sitting here. And it would then take the page as it is and translate everything on the page that is written in text in English. It would translate it into Hindi, Chinese, you know, whatever the language is that you choose. But Charles, I will check some more on that, because I'm not an expert at these things, but I'm seeing my team this afternoon as well, and find out from them if they can tell me exactly how that works. But the idea of saying, go to a system and ask it what is the best thing to do, and it's the thing that I always do. I don't ask one system, I ask 5.
yeah,
and I will put the links to all of those 5 that I use. And then I take them all and I put them into a 6th one to summarize. And so I'm getting all those different perspectives on exactly the same input. And Minal, as we were saying before, if you want the sources, if you want to know where this is really coming from, that's where Perplexity is very good. If you want to know what the Google world does, then it's Gemini, because that belongs to the Google group. If you're looking for things that, for me, go deeper in the thinking, it's Claude AI that I use. For everybody who grew up in the Microsoft world, it's everything to do with Copilot, because that's integrated into everything Microsoft. So if you're looking at things that specifically deal with Microsoft, it's that. and then ChatGTP, which is independent but also connected to Microsoft because it's one of the companies that's invested in that, is also then, the fifth one. And then I take them all, whatever the answers are that I get, and I put them into Google Notebook LM because I can make an individual notebook. And then I can ask it to take all of those sources and put them together and summarize them. Because I've tried things in the past where I've actually opened something and put in all exactly the same prompt. And there were some pages that did exactly what I was expecting to come out, and sometimes more than I was expecting. But recently I put something into many things, and one of them was Gemini, and Gemini didn't understand me at all. What I was getting back had nothing to do for me with what I was putting in, and it wasn't in alignment with all the other things that I had received from the other models. And so there are still times when you really have to play around with it more and try different things and see what your needs are, because if you need sources, if you're doing research, then there's nothing better than Perplexity, obviously. And Charles, to go back to the build your own video without video, that's called Sora. That's also from, I will put that in the notes as well. That's from OpenAI. So the same people that do ChatGTP. You write text and it produces the video for you. Okay.
Yeah, that's one we haven't yet tried, but
yeah. So it's not, people, it invents, everything, but when you write the text, it takes your ideas and then it transfers it into a video. So you don't need any images or anything before. It is generating all of that based on the text that you give it. Okay, let me just show you, that looks like this. Let me just close this for a moment, and I've opened this up so you can see. So this is Sora. As you see, it's from OpenAI. And it gives you give it text instructions and it produces a video. And it shows you how all of this works. And here is one for you to look at. It actually has sound as well. Sound is not running at the moment. I don't know why. But you see somebody has just written text and it has produced this as a video.
Yeah.
Meaning this lady doesn't really exist, quote unquote.
Amazing yeah. That you can do.
So if you're looking for something where you're saying it's important for you just to be able to describe something and then let the machine figure out the best way to represent that in a video setting, this is the kind of thing you would get. Just to give you an idea.
Used it yourself, Rhonda?
I haven't used it myself because I'm not a big video and image person, but yeah. I know people who use this. And they say if you just have good ideas and you don't know exactly what, how you can put it all together, this is a very good place to start, I've been told. But as I said, I'm not a video expert by any means. So, but I think that's something to give you an idea of something, and you can try it and see when you actually put in the other nice thing is, of course, you could go into any of the things and say, I would like to make a video about, and it will give you the entire script, and it will give you all, put this in the background and have this person and all of those things. So if you ask for a video script from another AI agent and you plug it in there,
yeah, you've got
you've got something that it knows how to deal with because it was also AI generated, the text part.
You have a team working for you then.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So I hope that helps.
No, it does. I think that's fascinating, and it just requires an upfront investment of time, doesn't it, to investigate these things and to work out how to make them work for us.
Exactly.
Then one saves time, but actually one doesn't save time. One just ends up doing more than before, I guess. But
Well, I
Um,
think it's like anything. I mean, going back to the car example, when we all learned to drive a car, how many hours did it take sitting with, a driving teacher or a family member or whoever was teaching you how to drive a car, and how many times did you mess it up, and how many times did you choke the engine, and how many times, did you do all the things that didn't work? And now in the meantime, all of us who've been driving cars for many, many years, it's automatic, or it's in almost the half subconscious part of our brain, and we can drive a car, and all of a sudden we're in another place and we don't even know how we got there. It just becomes extremely automated the more often we do it. And I think we're now at the beginning, like when we were learning to drive a car.
exactly. No,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and we're going through a very similar thing now with AI. At least that's the way I'm perceiving it at the moment for myself.
That's right, and it's really a question of really not just understanding how one can make the things one does already more quickly and productive, but how one can do things that one would never have thought of doing before. So to take the analogy of the car, it can get you from home to the shops more quickly than you ever dreamt of before. But suddenly, all sorts of things are possible which you would never even have dreamt of before. You can
Exactly.
go and visit your family 100 miles away and
Mhm.
come back in a day, or 700 miles away and come back in a day. You can do things which wouldn't have occurred to you to think about before. So it's the same principle, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah,
It's being imaginative with the tools and
exactly.
just pushing the limits, really.
Mhm. Minal, you were going to say something.
No, I was just agreeing with Charles.
Ah, very good. Because I noticed that I was listening to a podcast with a futurist the other day, and he said that back in the 1990s, he said that at some point there would no longer be banks with branch offices.
Yeah.
And everybody told him he was crazy and said, you can't do banking if you're not inside a building.
Yeah.
And he said now with Revolut and all of the similar tools that are out there in the world for people to do banking, he said virtually nobody has to go to a bank anymore. And the way that banks have to reimagine what they're doing and how they're doing it, even more so, has become this classic thing. And he's saying when you're looking at AI, as you were saying, Charles, not just that you can get to the shop, but you can also go and visit people or whatever. You have to be thinking of totally different things that you wouldn't even have imagined before, because when he was saying this many, many years ago, people all told him he was crazy. And they said, there's no way we can do banking without going to a branch office. And nobody believed him. And now, of course, that has all more than become true for many, many people in the world. And I know when I speak to people in Africa, they often tell me, I don't have a lot of things, but I have everything on my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
amazing.
so, those kinds of things that are happening, those of us who are live in places that have a different kind of infrastructure that has already been there, but lots of new places aren't investing in infrastructure from the past. They are really moving forward and only investing in future kinds of infrastructure, whatever those look like. And I think AI is going to give us the opportunity to really go beyond, as you said, all the things that we normally do or the way we normally do things. And we're going to have so many new opportunities based on what's coming now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge opportunity for individuals, but also for societies. I mean, like the revolution that came when mobile phones became available in, say, rural India or rural Africa or rural Asia, rural Europe for that matter.
Mhm.
Suddenly, farmers and people living in the countryside who were dependent on very, very slow supply chains. They had to get, and getting price information on their products was impossible. It's all out of date. They were running blind. Suddenly, they can be in touch with prices. They can be in touch with people who want their goods. They can supply the goods without leaving their home, their farm, their village. And it's revolutionized life. I mean, not as much as you'd expect yet, but it's coming more and more. You see mobile phones everywhere in rural. It's limited only obviously by the availability of signal, but even that is fast changing. So same thing for AI. I agree with you absolutely.
Exactly. So Minal, what else can we do for you today? I want to be cautious of our time. We do set this up for half an hour and we're a few minutes over. I have time, but is there anything else that you're looking at today that we can help you with?
No, I think what we talked about, especially the use of perplexity in research, especially for youngsters, I think it's also a way of doing things. Like we were always used to looking at 5 different options. The youngsters today may look at only one option and take the answer from there. So I think it's also like a training of sorts that you need to, give them in terms of trying to explore all options possible. So as you said, you look at 5 different sources, you get all your data, information, and
Mhm.
then you decide. So I think it's also just that way of thinking that will help if you, especially if you're using AI for your work. So yeah, otherwise it's good. Thank you.
Well, and I think the important thing is those of us who grew up without computers, we used to walk into a library and look at a wall like this.
Yes.
And we had to be able to pull books off the shelf and look at them and see what was included in them and whatever. And I remember when I did my graduate work at university, I spent one semester with one professor, every single class. We were in the library, sitting on the floor in front of the shelf that had all of the books about what is there to know in German studies. I studied German at university. And he said, so if you want to read, if you are asked to do research on Schiller as an author, you pull out this book, and he showed it to us, and we had to take notes on paper. And he said, this is the book that will give you all the information you need if you have to write any kind of a paper on Schiller. And there are these 3 books, and they do this and this and this. And he stood in front of the shelf and pulled out the books and showed them to us. The exam at the end of the semester was, you have to write a paper on this. Which books do you use? It was actually knowing which resources and learning all the resources, which is a total waste of our brains, but that was the only way we had to do it back then. But I spent one semester sitting on the ground once a week, looking at somebody pulling books off the shelf and telling me what to do. So this idea of looking for many, many sources is something that I think at least I did in that time, and many of us did,
Yes.
because we had to go and look at many sources to get things now. Everybody who has run around with a phone in his or her hand his whole life only sees one source all the time. It's a totally different mindset because they've always looked into one device for whatever it is. And they're not used to having to go to a bookshelf and pull books off the way I had to when I was during my studies. So I think it's something we have to be not tolerant of in the sense of they don't understand, but they've just not had the experience with lots and lots of resources the way we all did growing up.
Absolutely. And I think because we are using AI and everything, especially the students, I think it's also important for them to know that they should or they can go back to the source of that and make that information with, figure it out with their own context, their own viewpoint, not just take the opinion of something that they've seen on a AI platform.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's why I always compare it. And I say, if you hire a new assistant and you say to that person, please do X, whatever X is, and they hand you the result of that, do you just take that as it is, or do you actually take it and look through it and read it and check it and modify it if you need to? And instead of just taking something as the truth when it comes from somewhere, that's not what it was made for. It was made for to assist and for us to get more quickly lots of results, but we still need to make sure that it's just saying what we want to say. And that's where I think we need to make sure our young people realize this isn't, AI isn't God, AI is a help.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and that it's just here to assist you, but you need to make this your own.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's the thing that hopefully I'm hoping the younger generation understands and makes it their own.
Yes.
You take in information from everyone, but make it your own viewpoint, your understanding of that topic or context of whatever, right? So that's that fine line that I think they need to be able to manage.
And I think we need to give them input on that in things that they understand. And the 2 things that I talk to young people about that they still understand is choice of furnishings for where you live and choice of clothing. Because if you walk into even an online store and you see 16 different t-shirts, you still have to decide which is the right t-shirt for you, not only the size, but the color and the style and what's written on it and whatever. There are places where they still know how to do that. So I think it's not explaining for us like going to books on the shelf, because they'll say, what's that? We have to put it in a context where they actually understand it as well. And they all know which kind of t-shirts or shoes or whatever it is they would like to wear.
Yes, for sure.
Mhm. Wonderful. Well, what else can we discuss today? Anything else we need, or should we close the session here and look forward to what I will put all the notes, as I said, in Compolium, so you'll be able to find all the links to things and do some research on the points that we've talked about today to see if we can find some extra ideas to use going forward as well. Is there anything else either of you need today?
No, I think that's good. The session's been very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, Minal. Charles, anything else you need?
Thank you very much, Rhonda. I think that's been very helpful, and I shall have a go now at Sora and also how to best ways of going multilingual.
Mm-hmm.
How can AI help?
Wonderful. Well, we thank you for coming today and sharing your ideas, and look forward to seeing you at another session soon, and appreciate all of your support for the movement. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rhonda.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.